So just recently, Kyrie Irving that went down with the injury in Game 4 of the second round of the series versus the Bucks and the Nets. And then in Game 1 of the series, James Harden had injured his hamstring. He's probably not going to play the next game or potentially the whole series. And it kind of looks like Kyrie might not play this series. Before I go further, I hope both of those guys recover quickly. I hate to see injuries and I wish this series was played out fairly. But nonetheless, this means that Kevin Durant has a lot of pressure on him, since it will be the first time since 2016 where Durant doesn't have a super team around him. And just yesterday, we had our first look at him without a super team, and he played pretty terrible as he scored 28 points and 13 rebounds, but he shot a disgusting 9 for 25 from the field, which is absolutely horrible. And I honestly believe these next few games and the series in general is very important to Kevin Durant's legacy. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you why. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content and touch my goal of 1,500 subscribers, and comment on this video, start a conversation with me as I do respond to all of my comments, and play that intro. A thing you need to realize is that we legitimately haven't seen Kevin Durant not play on a super team in 5 years. But potentially for the rest of the series, we might actually see him have to struggle with a roster, which is something guys like LeBron, Steph Curry, and even James Harden to a certain degree had to deal with. And the last time we saw KD play on a team that wasn't a super team and he had pressure on him, he absolutely folded. And I don't know why people somewhat forget that, because don't forget, he blew a 3-1 lead to the Golden State Warriors. And a lot of people like to blame Russell Westbrook for that series, but it was just as much Kevin Durant's fault, because as I said, people like to blame Russell Westbrook for that series, but Russ was actually the best player in the series in the first 4 games of the series where OKC went up 3-1, and he was the main reason the Thunder even got to that 3-1 lead in the first place. Because in the first 4 games of the series, Westbrook was putting up 27 points, 12 rebounds, 4 steals along with 6 rebounds, and he was outplaying the unanimous MVP in Steph Curry. And I won't lie to you, he played pretty bad in the last 3 games of this series, so he does deserve some blames, but don't act like it's all his fault. Kevin Durant deserves more blame in my opinion, because unlike Westbrook, Kevin Durant was considered a top 3 player in the NBA, and he's considered a top 15 player in NBA history. In the last 3 games of the series, Kevin Durant averaged a pretty good 32 points, but he shot a disgusting 39% from the field and 26% from 3. This guy's supposed to be regarded as the best player in the NBA and is often regarded as one of the more efficient scorers in NBA history, yet when his team needed just 1 win out of 3 games and all the pressure was on him, he arguably had the worst stretch of his whole career, and that just shows me that his clutch ability might be overrated. And just in case you are wondering, the whole series, throughout the whole series, he was just not that great, as he did average 30 points, respect to him, but he shot 42% from the field and 28% from 3, which by the percentages is way worse than he usually is. So he just flat out choked, and that means this was literally last time we saw KD on a team that was not super powered, and he didn't look as great as he usually does. Kevin literally had a chance to make the NBA Finals again. He was literally up 3-1, but he blew it while playing terrible. So nobody could tell me that OKC team was not good enough to win the championship, because they went up 3-1 on a 73-9 team. So if he actually wanted to be competitive, he could have ran it back and not choked, because even if he plays decent in that series, they would have won at least one of those games. He has no one else besides himself to blame for that loss. When Kevin Durant signed with the Golden State Warriors after blowing a 3-1 lead to them, I knew his legacy was going to be affected drastically, because it was just such a weak move, and to give him credit, he actually did win 2 championships in the 3 years he was with the Warriors, but those are definitely some of the weakest championships ever. He didn't really prove anything. We all knew he was a great scorer, but we wanted to see if he could lead his own team to a championship, and I don't care what you say, those Warriors teams were Steph's team. And even though Durant was probably the best player, that that team was just so stacked. Teams weren't able to double team the greatest scorer in NBA history, and they couldn't apply great pressure to him because they were more scared of Steph Curry because he could get on fire and he could shoot from half court. So a lot of times they only ran KD against one defender, and when you give the greatest scorer in NBA history only one defender to defend him, he's gonna score a lot of points and he's gonna look great while doing it. It didn't really prove anything because we all knew he was a great scorer. And let me not forget to mention that they had literally the best catch and shoot player in NBA history and Klay Thompson just sitting there. Durant literally got to score against one-on-one coverage, so his legacy is on the line because we haven't seen him on a team with not a non-super team, and the rings he does have are some pretty weak ones. If you put any other superstar on the Warriors, like to replace Kevin Durant, I promise you they win all the championships. But with some other championships, you can't necessarily say the same. Because you put Kevin Durant on those 2016 Cavaliers, I don't think they make that 3-1 comeback. If you put KD on the 2012 Miami Heat, I don't think they beat the San Antonio Spurs. If you put Kevin Durant on the 2007 Cavaliers to replace LeBron, I don't think they make the finals. So in my opinion, the rings literally prove nothing, and I don't know why people are acting like he's the best player in the NBA when he literally has when he had the two greatest shooters in NBA history alongside him, meaning he gets way more easy shots and doesn't get nearly as much attention from the defense as other superstars get. But if we now look at Kevin Durant's current situation, where he is right now without his two superstars players, I'm going to be honest, if Brooklyn's healthy, they're probably winning this series in 5 or 6 games. But this is the first time we get to see KD without a super team, and the reason I believe his legacy is on the line because for KD, if he pulls off another choke job and can't handle the pressure from the defense, it just shows that he's not capable of producing and winning without a super team. And I'm not saying he needs to go out and win the series necessarily because Brooklyn's team is built around their 3 superstars, so I won't be blaming him if they actually lose the series. But all I'm saying is that KD needs to play good and try and at least put the team on his back, because we haven't really seen him do that, at least not recently. So if KD just goes out there and plays very well, I'll give him his credit. But if he goes out there and plays terrible like how he did in game 4, I believe that diminishes his legacy, and if he loses the series as well, if Kyrie or James Harden returns. And the thing is, a lot of people like to bring up that in the future, people won't really be talking about how KD's rings were weak. And to a certain degree, that is true, because casual NBA fans will be like, oh, he has 2 rings. They won't look into the context. But real NBA fans will actually do their research and find the context behind his rings. And in my opinion, real NBA fans' opinions matter significantly more. If the Brooklyn Nets never traded for James Harden, it would be the perfect way for Kevin Durant to show that he can lead a team without a super team. And that all got ruined by them getting James Harden. And I doubt there will ever be a time where Kevin Durant is on a team that's not a super team that can actually win the championship. So I guess we're just going to have to see all his rings on a super team. And in my opinion, I just don't find it that impressive. But to conclude the video, Kevin Durant is a top 15 player in NBA history, in my opinion. He's a top 10 NBA talent. And I do believe if you think he's the best player in the NBA, you are overrating him a bit, because it's somewhat easy to score as much and as efficiently as he does when you have a legitimate super team around you. And I know in his former OKC days he was very efficient, but no one was calling him the best player in the NBA back then. People call him the best player on the Warriors, and even now, simply because of how great he looks, because teams aren't really able to double team him. And when you give the greatest scorer in NBA history one-on-one coverage, he's obviously going to look great, and he simply has never been the best player in the NBA. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you agree or disagree with what I said in this video. Drop a like on the video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content. And tell us my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Comment on this video so I have a conversation, as I do respond to all of my comments. And I'm out.